Hello everyone and welcome to this video. Here I'm going to discuss 7 items that I think could be added to Stormworks to further make the logging and truck transportation industry that they added in one of the latest updates that much more better. Now of course, full disclaimer, this is just some idea suggestions, they're not the best ones, they're not the only ones. The developers could take them or leave them as they want. Before we even begin, I'm just going to show this truck that I made. It is a version of the stockyard, as you can see, but it has a whole living cabin arrangement in the back. And the best part about this is you have a bed, but not only that, you actually have a little living quarter area with a fireplace and with a heater, and you could lock all the doors, but it's just a nice little cozy environment that this update inspired me to make. Of course, also what I discussed is now my trucks are compatible with SIBTAT and with HGS. Both hitches can activate. The SIBTAT one's a little higher and the HGS is a little lower, but regardless, both work. So now you can actually connect it to those trailers and have full functionality. Now let's begin with those 7 items. The first item would be to bring in some more container sizes that would allow us to have kind of expanded networks of transportation. Now, I am very aware that the original Stormworks contained kind of non-matching container sizes, and there was different sizes. So then they standardized it to the one you see here in the middle. But what I did is, just like in real life, they do have smaller containers and they have larger containers that would just kind of grow on what you have here, and you'd still have the connectors up there to add the larger one. Now the larger one would be kind of difficult for logistics since the big one's already kind of big, but I would like to see small ones just for the sake of transportation and smaller vessels and smaller creations and stuff. Now again, this is not end all be all or the hill to die on, just an idea I had, especially as I was developing my standards in the game. If you're familiar, my R10, my H4, my different standards, and I thought, okay, it would be quite neat to get more sizes and different price points. Obviously, the bigger one would cost more money or you'd get more money, the smaller one less so, but all of them would kind of just build on the existing logistics and container transportation we already have in the game. In addition to ISO containers, to have palletized or crate cargo. Now this actually came because with the logging industry, we now have logs that kind of sit around. So I thought if we could load logs into our vehicles, why couldn't we load crates and other types of cargoes in addition to the ISO containers? If you see over there, the ISO container is still fairly large, whereas this would be small enough to put, for example, inside a train. You'd be able to load a train car, you'd be able to load a flatbed or closed bed truck. You'd be able to pretty much load a variety of different things that just includes much smaller types of cargo. Now, for this, the developers would only really need to develop sort of a standard crate or even multiple standards of crates if you want different shapes. I kind of had fun developing random crates for various things here. You can see my engines and such, but pretty much you don't have to have that level of detail. You just need some crates that are loadable, and by loading you'd have to use equipment such as forklifts or other things to put them inside your vehicles. And actually with this type of loading, it wouldn't only have to stop with using pallets and crates, but it could also be loading and unloading of the actual trailers that we now receive, because right now all the trailers kind of come preloaded already. But wouldn't it be neat to also have to, in addition to that, take your actual goods and place them on the flatbeds as an extra part of the game? Now of course I still think there is a good reason to have preloaded containers, but it would be neat to have the loading system as part of your mini game kind of challenge. Now for this one, I'm well aware the developers said they don't really intend on changing the island, but to have better roads, highways, and smoother roads. Now this is something that I've heard from multiple people when they were playing with the new transport missions, especially on the main island where the roads are sometimes a a little rough, and your vehicle could pretty easily fall through and get really damaged quickly. So that one is something that I'm sure the modders can take care of, but at the same time, to just get a bit of these roads cleaned up and potentially a highway system would be pretty much, I would say, the most important and most awesome thing for this update. Because right now we have the trucks, but take a look at that. So you have very bumpy roads here, and they're not really, they're very prone to damaging your vehicle. So if you are trying to drive and long haul trailers and things, it isn't fun when you're kind of getting close to your destination and then the road has a dip like this, and for some reason something ends up breaking. So obviously you could drive more careful or build taller vehicles with better suspension stuff, but I do see the reasoning behind having kind of a better highway or roadway system. Which brings me to the next item, which is added rail support. Now, I was really happy to see that they have kind of a rail yard next to or close to the sawmill. That made me very happy because there's a siding here that you could actually put your trains on and offload cargo or lumber for the sawmill. So that made me really happy. We have that here in this location. At the farm, there's not really a siding, but there is kind of a train rail nearby. Not very close, but close enough. But I would like to see some more train support alongside these facilities, whether it's just a full-on siding that comes to this location and helps loading and offloading, or more train interfaces, train systems, train tracks, and ultimately for the cargo to not just be truck trailers, but to be something that can easily be loaded onto the train cars. Now, people have asked me to make a train car that can support the truck style that we have here, like these guys. And of course it's possible. I mean, you just have to have some sort of system to load and offload it, the whole trailer itself, I mean. But in theory, it would be better if they were just the hay bales, or if it was a flat piece that attaches either to, using ISO container nodes, attaches to these flatbed trailers, or attaches to the trains that we have in the game, or that you then make in the game. One also other thing is that places like the forestry and up here we have the logging camp, they have absolutely no rail support. The trains pass here and make their way and don't even go to this side of the island. I would have loved to see somewhere here a train track that we could then attach with via trucks and load up a train car full of logs to then take to the sawmills, because right now they are quite isolated. On that note, I will say that I'm super happy that both logging plants are right next to the water, so I actually will develop a boat that you could load up with a truck, load your boat up with logs, and take them down the river to the sawmills. So that's something that I really do like. A variety of wood logs, including different sizes, diameters, even species with different values, would be awesome as well for planning and making money moves pretty much with your logistics in the game. Now, one thing I did want to note is the logs right now are very big. They're even longer than the rods for oil drilling. So that's a fairly sizable log, which is kind of big to put on a trailer, which fair enough. I mean, I have no problem with this, but it would be nice to see different species that you could then load up in different manners, maybe just kind of random, or maybe, you know, you have to go and scope them out, but then you load them up onto your trailers and take them to places. Because right now you can see they're all $1,000 taking to the Packard sawmill, but it would be interesting to have specialty mills or specialty plants that take, you know, a Douglas fir that's a larger piece of wood, or like oak, maybe it'd be smaller, something like that. Also just different sizes, because I do find that this is kind of long, albeit still easy to work with, but I do like the different species of fish in the game, and different logs would kind of go hand in hand with that idea. Now, I did make a whole video talking about logging industry and making trees that you could chop down and take and harvest and all that stuff. So I'm gonna be brief here. Go watch that video, I recommend. But tree cutting mechanics. So not only do we come up to these 4 logs that are kind of pre-planted for us, but the ability to actually harvest trees using a saw tool. So maybe we get a saw tool in the inventory, we place it on a truck or in a helicopter or whatever, and then you take it to actual trees such as this and harvest them. They fall down, they become these guys that you see here, and then you plant it onto your trailer, take it. Now, in addition to that, of course, just I'll be quick, but having chainsaws, winches, logging chutes, other things for efficiencies and to be able to log trees, that'd be kind of fun too, like a handheld chainsaw in addition to the truck mounted one. And then you'd then make your own trailers and of course load it and take it to the sawmills just like this. But it's interesting, we already have the trees, you can knock them over if you drive into them, so they are sort of not fixed to the game, but rather more or less dynamic elements. So what would happen if you knock this down and it just becomes one of these? I think that'd be more or less easy to implement. Possibly not, of course, but if we can do that, then we can open up a whole new world, a whole new industry in this game, more than just transporting these logs, but actually systems and processes that can log multiple trees and more trees and efficiently and all that good stuff. Idea number 7 is to have functional farms. Now, I do have a video about this and I suggest you go take a look at that, but I'm going to be brief here. Pretty much what I talked about in that video is having combines and, growing plants and spraying them with crop dusters. That's complex. What we could do as a very simple addition to this update is, rather than the trailers being pre-made with these hay bales, you have to harvest the hay bales from a field, and you just use a simple combine tool, let's say, and when you drive over the field, it just creates these things. And once it creates these things, you can load them into whatever you want and transport them however you want. So that would be kind of a neat little mini game. And you can see here we have kind of this open field area. So if you could imagine driving over this area with a combine tool or combine equipment that you build, but it would have a combine kind of front end, maybe then as you're driving here inside this shed, you get these hay bales spawn. So they don't even spawn around you, they just kind of spawn there as part of your process. In addition to that, animals, right? We have animals. It would be neat to load up the animals ourselves to put them into the trailers, as we have some animals that are interactive and some animals that are not interactive. But pretty much this can be taken to the full extreme, like I mentioned, where you grow crops, or it could just be taken to a simple harvest the hay or, load the animals in or whatever the case may be. Even rather than this, there could be a new seed liquid or material. I guess it wouldn't be liquid, it'd be more like the coal. But you'd go into a hopper, you'd load up your trailer with seeds or grain or whatever, just like the real life. We have grain industries, we have seed industries, fertilizer, whatever. So I could see the farm using trains to load grain or to load trucks or anything like that. This update opened my eyes, and it opened a whole new bunch of doors to potential ideas that can be used with this system. Now, maybe the developers won't go and do anything, and that is a-okay. I'm totally fine. I love this game, support the developers 100%. But if they do want to add a little bit of elements to the game, I would say this list of things could facilitate and make this kind of transportation logistics system that much better. Of course, everyone knows Stormworks for the rescue elements. We have oil drilling, we have a bunch of stuff. But in addition to the ISO containers and now these trailers, it would be kind of cool to have a little bit more transportation and shipping style things, including loading, including rail support, roadways, all kinds of stuff. So that is my take. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hopefully this encourages you also to comment some of your ideas or thoughts. I'd love to see them. Take care, stay tuned for more creations, stay tuned for more videos, and as always, happy Stormworksing everyone. See you next time.